Hello everyone. In today's session, we will be looking at a high-level overview on Veritas net backup appliances and the procedures involved in the initial configuration. A net backup appliance is basically net backup software on performance-optimized hardware, which serves a single turnkey solution for backup, deduplication, and storage. As we all know, the exponential data growth is one of the most pressing issues faced by IT departments today. Net backup appliances enable efficient protection for the data center, remote offices, and the virtual environment. Appliance models provide protection at scale, which means that it is available in as low as 2 terabytes virtual appliances for remote offices deployment and scale all the way up to 687 terabytes of storage. An appliance comprises of primary compute unit and storage disk classified based on master or media server role in net backup deployment. Now, it is the best practice to follow net backup configuration checklist. This checklist will have space for values and information to be entered, and the recorded settings in this checklist will save valuable time and it will help you to get appliance online quickly. Users can also download this checklist from the Veritas tech note as you can see in the display. When the net backup appliance is delivered from factory, it comes with pre-installed software. The appliance must be racked and cabled correctly. It is important to refer appliance hardware installation guide during the initial setup. The user must ensure that all the network cables are connected securely, the storage disks are inserted, and all components are powered up. In order to initialize server configuration, there are two methods how you can connect to net backup appliance. First method is connect your laptop to Ethernet port 0, which has a pre-configured IP address. Then access the appliance to graphical user web interface or command line shell interface called as CLISH. The second method is connect to the appliance through IPMI, the maintenance utility port. Access the appliance to command line shell and then configure IP addresses on the other Ethernet ports. These ports can further be used for remote connections to web graphical user interface. User needs to access the appliance with default username and password. The server configuration can be done from command line shell or web graphical user interface. So at this stage, the appliance can be configured as master or media server. The user has options to determine the amount of storage they desire to configure. The storage can be configured as advanced disk or media server deduplication pool. If the appliance is being configured as master server, then the image catalog size can also be defined. The appliance hostname needs to be provided right at this stage. So let's take a tour on the web graphical user interface and then explore some settings and the management and the configuration tasks we can perform as an administrator. So I'm connected to NetBackup Appliance web console. This is the login page. Before I type in the user credentials, just want to highlight the three important sections as listed below. The first one is product information. This is where a user can access the latest information on the newer version of appliances. They have access to release notes, appliance documentation, compatibility list, and then direct link to Veritas services and operation readiness tools. User can also download packages based on the operating system, and they can also ensure that they're accessing the web console through the compatible browser. So I'm going to type in the user credential now. So after successful login, what you're looking at is a home page for a newly configured NetBackup Appliance 5230. The appliance version is 3.0 and the NetBackup version is 8.0. This appliance is configured as master server, but it can play the role of media server as well. In the menu options, there are four important tabs where user can monitor, manage, and configure appliance-related settings. As per the initial configuration guide, the user needs to configure network settings first, followed by the DNS host configuration. The network settings section here will list all the Ethernet ports which are connected to this appliance. There are a total 8 number of ports, and then it's a very simplified web console where you can choose and select the Ethernet ports, and then edit the configuration, add an IP address or a subnet mask. You can also view details. There are other configurations which can also be performed, like create a bond between the network cards, or add a VLAN configuration, add a static route configuration with the static IP address and the subnet mask. So the important thing about the Ethernet ports listed here is that um, you can also view the IO configuration. So as listed here, there are like four 1 gig Ethernet ports, and then there are another 10 gig ports. So altogether there are like 8 ports. Now, based on the appliance model, like this one is 5230. So I have a quick screenshot of 5230 appliance rear view. And as you can see, there are two riser assemblies with 6 PCIe slots. So, something like four 1 gig Ethernet port, then two 10 GB Ethernet port, and the another two 10 GB Ethernet port would be somewhere on the PCIe slot. Same thing goes with the fiber channel configuration. So it totally depends on which IO configuration model you have, and based on that, you could see the details here. So, for example, the appliance what we are looking at right now, it's option D, which has got four 1 gig, four 10 gig, and then 8 gig fiber channel connection. Similarly, the DNS configuration can be performed under the host tab. It shows the appliance hostname which was provided while performing the initial server configuration. The initial server configuration can be performed on both. It could be done on the command line interface CLISH, as well as it can be performed on the web console. It's important to remember that you cannot change the name of the hostname until you perform a factory reset on the appliance. The other settings which could be done on this screen is you can assign the domain name suffix, DNS IP address, or add entries for the hostname resolutions. In addition, there are other configuration settings like notifications, date and time, authentication, password settings. The most important tab under network settings is fiber transport settings. So fiber transport settings is where you can enable SAN client backup options. SAN client backup option is where a user can offload the backup traffic from local area network and allow those backup jobs to run over fiber channel with uh, for the faster backups. So so there are other configurations which you can perform on under this tab is like enable fiber transport for replication to other net backup appliances, or you have another option where you can use this appliance as a replication target, you know, and then and and then configure the fiber channel ports accordingly. It is always recommended that you follow the administration guide and the initial configuration guide while making any changes or trying to configure any of the settings under this tab. Storage utilization is one of the important aspects when it comes to net backup appliances. So let's take a quick look at the storage tab here. Storage overview will display the capacity distribution, the amount of space allocated for advanced disk configuration files, MSDP, which is media server deduplication pool, MSDP catalog, net backup catalog. On like I said, this is a newly configured 50 to 30 appliance, so I haven't done any allocations yet. But you can make the allocations or make any configuration with the partitions just by clicking on the partition. Similar operations can also be performed from the command line interface clish. And as you can view, so once you select the partition, you can resize the partition or move it to another disk. The important thing to remember here is that Veritas NetBackup Appliances uses Veritas Volume Manager with Veritas file system, so it helps to improve performance and volume management tasks such as increasing the pool size or making any configuration changes on the disks. Next, let's take a look at the hardware panel. It, it shows hardware is healthy. So this is a very brief indication on the status of the hardware. But if you want to find more details, in that case, let's click on monitor and then select hardware. This page here uh, lists the hardware components and storage disks which are associated with these appliances, and then it gives a brief indication if there is any kind of warning or failure on any of the hardware component. So I'm going to click on RAID controllers here. So as you can view, there are two RAID controllers on these appliances, and the green checkbox on the left indicate that these components are working absolutely fine. So there are two RAID combinations here, RAID 1 and RAID 6. RAID 1 is mirrored disk configuration for operating system volume, whereas RAID 6 is for disk with storage volume. So let's take a look at the disk configuration here. All right, so what you see here is the number of disks. Some of them are in RAID 1, whereas others are in RAID 6 configuration, and there is one hot spare as well. I'm going to show you the quick screenshot of the front panel of the primary unit 50 to 30, and as you can view, there are totally 12 slots, but only 10 slots are occupied with 1 terabyte disk. Slots 0 and 1 has RAID 1 configuration, whereas slots 4 to 10 is with RAID 6 configuration. And the purpose for RAID 6 is it's a storage volume where you can hold catalog information, configuration files, advanced disk, MSDP volume, and then there is one hot spare. So so it will list you all the disks here, and they're all green, which means that they're all functioning correctly. Please note that the screenshot which we saw recently, it was specific to 4 terabyte capacity for 50 to 30 primary unit for this net backup appliance. And like we saw the slides right in the beginning of the video, the backup appliances can scale all the way up to 687 terabytes. So, which means that the disk capacity may differ depending on the appliance model we choose, and the disk capacity also differs on the storage cells which gets connected to the primary unit. So it may go to 2 terabytes or 3 terabytes, depending upon the I/O configuration and the capacity of the backup appliance. Another important feature with Appliance is Call Home feature, as listed in the notifications panel. As of now, I have not configured it yet. However, it is a very useful feature. So, Call Home is designed to constantly monitor all the hardware components we saw in the Hardware tab, and this feature will alert you and Veritas in the event of a hardware failure or any kind of disruption. Basically, Call Home uploads hardware and software information to a secure Veritas server once an alert is detected. This information may be used by Veritas to proactively open a support case, and then a support technician will contact you to collect logs and other details or to arrange for replacement of the reported component failure if needed. Again, it is recommended to follow the backup appliance administration guide to configure the Call Home feature. To know more about the appliance, please refer to this link. It will provide you all the documentation related to NetBackup appliances for all the recent versions. I hope that I was able to give you a quick and brief overview on NetBackup appliances and the steps involved with the initial configuration. Please leave a comment if you have any questions with Veritas NetBackup appliances, or you may also contact us on Veritas Canada team at ingermicro.com. Thank you for watching.